What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to have a comprehensive look at the subsonic ammo type versus the silencers or suppressors in Call of Duty Vanguard, because there is actually a very key difference between these two that I'm sure a lot of people are completely unaware of at this point. And diving right into it, let's have a look at the most important elements of the suppressor versus the subsonic ammo type, and this is its interaction with the minimap as well as the compass for enemy players. And just a quick recap for anybody that isn't aware, if the enemy is not using a suppressor or subsonic, this player is using nothing on their gun. If I'm not using the radar perk and they fire their gun, you'll see that they will pop up on my compass as a red diamond, but they won't be showing up on my minimap. This is without any streaks in the air as well. Whereas when I have the radar perk on, now they will show on both the compass as well as the minimap when they fire an unsuppressed weapon. It's also worth noting, if I have an intel up or if my team has a spy plane up in the air and an enemy fires an unsuppressed weapon, they will show up on both the minimap as well as the compass, even if I'm not using the radar perk. So the radar perk is only working for you if your team doesn't have a spy plane in the air or if you don't have an intel in the air. So that's the basics and sort of the starting point you need to understand first. Now let's start looking at suppressors versus subsonic when it comes to this. And it turns out with both of these, if my team doesn't have a spy plane up and I don't have any intel up, it doesn't matter if the enemy is using a silencer or the subsonic ammo type, both of those will keep you not only off the minimap, but also off the compass. And this is also regardless of whether or not I'm using the radar perk. That has no impact on this. Suppressors and subsonic, by default, will keep you off both of those radars. But now I want to see what happens when my team has either a spy plane or I have an intel in the air. These behave the same when it comes to this. And the enemy player here is using Ghost. I'm making sure I was keeping him moving as well, so he was staying off the radar. His Ghost was activated. And when he's firing his suppressed weapon, as you can see here, he's not popping up on the minimap and he's not popping up on the compass, so it's doing its job there. Now let's have a look at subsonic. And it's the same situation here. He's got Ghost. I'm trying to keep him on the move to keep his Ghost activated. And you'll notice, as he's firing his gun, he does not show up on the minimap or the compass. However, you will notice his dot is showing up every time it sweeps, even though he's on the move and he's using Ghost. And this was an extremely surprising result for me, and I figured out what is going on with this. It turns out, if you're using Ghost with a silencer, as long as you're on the move, even if you're firing your gun, your Ghost will continue to stay activated, and like I said, you will never show up on the minimap or the enemy's compass for firing your weapon. However, when I did this same test with subsonic, you'll notice that as I'm moving here, my Ghost is activated, but the moment I fire a shot, it completely deactivates my Ghost perk. Even when I am moving above that movement speed threshold to keep my Ghost perk activated, it will still disable the Ghost perk for 3 full seconds, which is quite a long time. Keep in mind, between spy plane sweeps, you only have 5 seconds, so you have a very brief window between those sweeps, which you can't see, by the way, so you don't know exactly when these sweeps are happening, in order to fire your gun and then reactivate your Ghost perk through movement, which is just not practical. And what this means is the suppressor is the superior option when it comes to staying off the radar, especially if you're combining it with the Ghost perk and the enemy team is calling in spy planes or intel, and these are going to be coming in constantly throughout a match. So I'm sure that right there is going to cause a lot of you guys to start switching your class setups, because if you're using subsonic and Ghost, as soon as spy planes start coming in on the map, that subsonic is now no longer really doing its job properly. Like I said, you're still not going to be popping up for firing your gun. It's just the fact that it deactivates the Ghost perk that makes it kind of useless. But that's not the end of this comparison. There are a few more elements I wanted to have a look at, or in this case, a listen to. I personally noticed when using subsonic rounds, it didn't seem like my gun was any quieter while firing, whereas when I use a suppressor, it does make my gun a lot quieter. But what does that sound like for the enemy player? Well, let's first have a listen to the suppressor. Just pay attention to how loud these suppressed shots are in relation to the distance that I am away from the enemy player. As you can probably tell, not only is it fairly quiet even when you're right up close and personal, but this fades away fairly quickly. Right about this point here is when it really starts to become super quiet, but you can still kind of hear it if you're really paying attention. But if there was other gunfire going on, you probably wouldn't even pick up on it. And then once you reach around this point here, it's completely inaudible when an enemy fires with a suppressed gun. Now, let's have a listen to the subsonic ammo type to compare these. As you can tell, it is significantly louder. You can hear the enemy firing that even across shipment all the way across here where you could no longer hear a suppressor. You could quite clearly hear that subsonic ammo type. So subsonic is not really helping you with audio either, especially not compared to a suppressor, which can significantly help with your audio. So that's another point for the suppressor over the subsonic ammo type. Now let's have a look at muzzle flash though, because this is another thing that I wanted to see. Do these mute your muzzle flash at all? And as you can see here, there is literally zero muzzle flash with a suppressor here. There is definitely some muzzle smoke, but no flash involved with that whatsoever. Whereas with the subsonic ammo type, we do have a bit of a muzzle flash here. You can see muzzle flash, which honestly isn't a massive in-game cue. This isn't something that's constantly going to be alerting you to an enemy's position. I was just sort of curious to see how they would interact with each other. And then another thing I wanted to look at is the tracer effect with these two. Do these dampen that tracer effect? Does it make it harder to actually see the bullets in the air if an enemy is shooting across your line of sight or in your general direction? And as you can see here with the suppressor, the tracer is still visible, and it's very visible. It's quite bright and visible. And it's no different with the subsonic ammo type. And it turns out it was also no different with no attachments whatsoever. So neither of these seem to have any impact at all on your tracer effect. But they can absolutely have an impact on your muzzle flash, your audio, as well as your minimap/compass interaction. And overall, I was actually pretty shocked to see these results, especially the fact that subsonic will disable your ghost perk the moment you fire your gun, and it disables it for 3 full seconds as well. That one definitely surprised me, and I did make some adjustments to my class setups because up until doing this testing, I honestly thought you could choose one or the other. I thought these were basically interchangeable, either subsonic or suppressor. The only thing that I thought was maybe different was how audible the shots would be for enemy players, which I was correct on that part at least, but it turns out they are absolutely not interchangeable when it comes to your minimap interaction if you're also thinking about the ghost perk and the enemy having a spy plane or intel up, which is going to be happening for the majority of most matches, at least in respawn game modes. So if you're looking for that full stealth build, stay away from the subsonic ammo type and instead move toward one of the silencer muzzle attachments in game. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. I'd like to hear from you guys in the comment section below. What did you guys think of this comparison and these results between these two stealth attachments? Were you just as surprised as I was that subsonic isn't nearly as good as a suppressor? Or is this working as you thought it did? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.